Hey, we're on the side of the road somewhere, Seamilk.
Yeah, we're here to debate and agree with each other on potentially the two best cheap cars you could ever buy.
Yeah, I mean, here's one, and there's one over there.
Very interesting combo of cars we got going on here, Winston.
Yeah, I'd say very, very different.
Yeah, they were exactly the same price. Well, not when you bought yours, but we're looking at C4 Corvettes, the one that you're driving, going for about $3,500, and looking at really good condition cop cars like this P71 for about the same price, yet they're wildly different machines.
Yeah, I mean, that being said though, my particular C4 Corvette's definitely worth more than $3,500, but you can get one that drives and runs for that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And again, you can spend more money on these P71s. We saw them go all the way up to like $8,000, but this one in particular was a good deal. And it's got some pedigree in terms of, screen time. But I gotta say this, on these twisty ass roads that we're on, I would much rather be in your car.
Yeah, no joke. I mean, when I was driving that P71 around the corners, can't remember where we were, but it felt like it was gonna just roll off the roads.
Yeah, honestly feels like it's gonna tip over. It's so rolly, and the scary thing is this is already beefed up. Like, the suspension is the police package, so it's like it's supposed to be quite a bit more rugged and supposed to be able to take corners better. But the added weight with these bulletproof doors and stuff, it's insane. And I can't imagine how squishy a normal Crown Vic would be.
Well, I actually got an Uber once, and the guy was in a Grand Marquis, which is basically the same car, and it was plush.
Yeah, this thing is less than plush. I mean, it's nice, but it's utilitarian. The seats are pretty hard, and there's vomit seat protectors in the back for like drug addicts and stuff. But the reason that we wanted to bring up these two cars is not, number one, because we own them, and number two, because they serve very different purposes. And I think it's because you convinced me to get this P71, I think this may be the best car you can buy for the money. And I want you to counter with the fact that maybe your Corvette could be even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it's totally down to who you are, because I think as far as practicality is concerned, your car is the best for the money. But when it comes to coolness, fun, sportiness, I think the C4 is the best.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just talking about utilitarian purposes, the thing is, this goes past that. I hated Panther bodies, this style of car, before you convinced me to get one, because for you, being a South African, anything uber American, like a police car or a muscle car or something, is very different. Whereas for me, it's like, I don't know, I get a kind of scumbag vibe, like for old Crown Vics and stuff. But then I got one, and I love it. I use it every day, and this is my daily driver now. And I changed my mind because, like, not only do people get out of your way on the highway, which is pretty badass, you can also, like, I'm wearing an earpiece right now, and you could totally, like, freak people out, because this is a detective car, and anyone that knows the detective P71 police cars will know that this particular color is a detective car. So it's kind of cool. You get a little bit of pedigree. It's got no driver aids like traction control and like cruise control and stuff. So it's really actually kind of fun to drive. It's got a decent amount of power. It'll light up the tires like crazy. But at the end of the day, it is not a performer. And that is something I value in a car like the C4.
Yeah, and what might surprise you about the C4 is it actually gets way better gas mileage than that thing. And it has cruise control, and it has ABS, and it has traction control. At least from this model, 93 and up have traction control. And I mean, I drove it cross country, and believe it or not, it's actually really comfy.
Yeah, I mean, the seats are nice and everything. The thing is, I have to fall into it when I get in. I basically throw out my hip every time. So for this, it's like I just turn off my brain and go. This car almost puts me to sleep, and I love it for that. But one disadvantage maybe with a Corvette, because you get all this more performance, it's much faster, it's way better in the corners, people are going to think it looks better. But one disadvantage, I think, is maybe running costs, because I feel like I've had to do nothing to this car, and I don't think they break.
Yeah, dude, you are 100% correct, because any Corvette part comes at a premium. And maybe we can talk about this indicator stalk of mine, because we're going to show you the receipt here, but basically we were going to do this Quest for the Best documentary. And I was in a rush because, I wasn't in America at the time. I was flying in from China, and this car was sitting at my friend's house in Arizona. And, the thing is, we needed to go on this trip, and it was urgent, and I only had like 2 days before we were going to go on this trip. So I thought, I'll take it to a Chevy dealership, and they can replace it, because you need indicators when you're driving a couple thousand miles or whatever. Anyway, took it to the dealership, and well, you can see how much it ended up costing me. So
yeah, that was shocking. It was mind-blowing. We didn't have to pay that much, but for such short notice we had to. And that's the thing, is that anything with Corvette, we've gone on the websites, and even like when you go to discount sites and stuff, if it's Corvette, it's twice as expensive. And I think that's bull, but it's the way that like Corvettes have this more prestige over normal muscle car, not even muscle cars, American sports cars. And it's unfair. Whereas this, literally, I mean, other than gas, I think I've been averaging like 16 miles per gallon in this thing. But other than gas, like this thing will just go. It's calibrated, you know, to be reliable. It's got the beefed up radiators and stuff. My freaking father-in-law left the keys in this, locked the keys inside of it, and left it running for like 3 hours. And I had to go like rescue it. It's totally fine. Didn't overheat. Totally like bulletproof, this car. And I can put so much crap in it.
oh yeah, dude, I love that. I love the fact that it can just be left idling on a hot day in the middle of summer. No problem. It's reliable, and it's got so much space to throw crap in. And that's the big drawback of this car, is you can drive with 2 people in it. You can put some luggage in the back. I mean, I've managed to fit a whole ton of crap in the back during that trip, but let's be honest, it's not practical. It's very, you know, you can't go pick things up. If you've got more than 2 people, you're in a bind, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that the 2-seater really like screws people over with this kind of stuff. You have to keep in mind, if you have any sort of family or you want to take people for a ride, you're only taking one person. However, this is where it boils down to, is if I was a kid in high school, I feel like this P71, this Crown Vic, would be better for if I like was going out with a bunch of friends. But on a date, I'd rather have that Corvette, because you're going to be able to like take her into the corners and like really pull some G's, and she'll be impressed, and it sounds good. This thing's quiet as a mouse. You're not going to impress any chick with driving around in a cop car, especially in high school. But definitely your car will be more fun. But yeah, like I said, if you've got friends, you all want to pile in and go on a road trip or something, this is definitely your car.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think women are impressed by pulling high G's in the corners, to be honest. I think they actually don't like that, at least from my experience. But one thing, these cars, they look flashy and they look expensive because they were expensive. You know, when they were new, they were super expensive. And Corvette is, you know, the American sports car. It's the premium. It's like, it's the cream of the crop. It doesn't get better than Corvette when it comes to American cars. And so, you know, when you're driving around, it looks flashy. The paint still looks nice on this one. I love the color. And if you're driving at night, you got all the lights reflecting off, it looks amazing. You pull up in this and people think that it's worth money. Of course, they're not. The C4s are the most hated generation of Corvettes. And I think that's undeserved, because they actually drive the best out of most of the, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, definitely better than a C3 and a C2. And obviously a C1. But anyway, the thing is, it just looks like money, and I think that adds a lot to it.
Yeah, so, I mean, the problem is, I always saw them clapped out in people's, like, trailer parks, so it gave me this, like, really bad vibe. But nowadays, I think they're kind of retro chic. 90s stuff is now considered cool. It was that 10-year rule, so early 2000s, if I looked at one of these C4s, I was like, this is like a scumbag car, because it's someone that couldn't afford a new one, and so they got, like, a shitty one that was sitting out somewhere, and they couldn't afford to fix it and stuff, and that's why it just brought down the value in my mind. But now I think they're going to start going up. So I think, honestly, if you're into like a really good driver's car, now is the perfect time to buy a C4, because they're so damn cheap.
Yeah, they're also very period correct. I mean, we're dealing with a car that debuted in 1984, and other than some very subtle changes on the rear of the car and the fog lights, it actually looks exactly the same. So, you know, you've got that sort of 80s retro feel, which is awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And they do look cool. They do look really cool now. And I think you're going to see the prices go up. You're also probably going to see the prices on these Crown Vics go up when people realize you get a V8 for like, I mean, this one was already cheap. You can get them for like $1,500. A V8 that's not going to break, and it's super comfy, and literally the doors are bulletproof. Like, this is the best, those stupid tropes, post-apocalyptic, zombie apocalypse and all this kind of crap. This is the car to have.
Oh yeah, dude, and those Coyote engines, it is a Coyote, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Those engines are so cool and so easy to like modify and whatnot. You know, it's almost limitless what the options are.
It's actually not detuned. I mean, these are buffed up to 250 horsepower, but yeah, it's lower displacement than the one found in the Mustang. But that just makes it more reliable, Anyway, I had this idea. We should probably see what these are are supposed to do in 0 to 60 times. So we'll find a little patch of area to do that. I know yours is supposed to do like a 5.7 0 to 60, and this car, this P71, is supposed to do a 8.5. So I think we should see if they hold up.
That sounds like a good idea. Get your app loaded. Let's find a spot and let's try this. Okay, it's ready. And 3, 2, 1.
Here we go. All right, 11 seconds. That's pretty terrible.
So yeah, my time was kind of screwed up there. There was a car that was in front of me, so I had to slow down, and it kind of screwed up my time. I had to get back on the gas, ended up with 11 seconds. But Winston and I both retested the car multiple times and consistently got 7.1 seconds, so pretty good.
So yeah, it hit 60 miles an hour, 5.7 seconds. So I guess it still got it.
So it looks like your car is running just as good as it was stock, like from the factory.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed. How about yours?
I got an 11.
No, this particular car of mine, the engine is in fantastic condition. You know, I also have been doing some work on it and maintaining it properly. It's got only fully synthetic oil. I've changed the plugs, you know. I changed all the sensors on it. I've been keeping it up well, so, you know, it's actually a very fresh motor.
Sure. I think this one's fine too. It's just the car is so damn heavy. I think that's really the issue with this thing. But I can really sum it up by saying if you care about speed and you care about handling and you want a really good bargain, like much better. The thing is, like, you can buy like a quick Japanese car, but you're going to pay a lot more money. Think about it. If you want like a Mark III Supra, like a turbo that will keep up with a C4, right now you're going to pay over $20,000 for a decent one. Or you could buy a C4 for like $3.5 grand.
Yeah, and if you're willing to spend a little more and go all the way up to like I did, I paid $7 for this when I got it. But if you're willing to pay $6 or $7, you can actually get one that's probably in incredibly good condition with all of its like service history and, you know, like pristine everything, you know?
Yeah, and you might actually be able to get a 6-speed manual if you're lucky, which would make that, it would turn that into like such a beast of a car.
Yeah, and don't forget the 80s ones have got that cool 4+3 Doug Nash, which is kind of like an overdrive, weird manual gearbox.
Don't get that one, that's terrible. Winston just likes the bad stuff.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool because you like press buttons on it and stuff, you know.
I can't handle these corners in this boat. Oh my god, these people must be so mad. It's really tough though. You can really break the tires loose in this thing. Anyway, to sum up my car, totally freaking worth it if you want a bulletproof tank that has a V8 in it with a ton of room and a little bit of street cred.
Absolutely. I also have to say that the reliability of the Corvette is fantastic. Don't forget, I drove it cross country. I drove through snowy mountains, I drove it through the desert, and it didn't overheat, it didn't give me any trouble starting in the snow. And I think these LT1s, and you know, this is an LT1, and the one before it, the TPI, are very reliable engines. I know that they have an issue with the OptiSpark on these particular engines, but from my experience anyway, this thing is the most reliable car I've ever owned.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, and I would mirror that sentiment with this car as well. These things don't die for a reason. Well, it was nice to get these two out on the road. Unfortunately, we're going to have to clear stable at some point. I really don't want to say goodbye to this thing, but that's the nature of what we do on the show, and you're actually probably going to end up saying goodbye to your C4 Corvette as well, because we just need more space.
Yeah, I mean, it's about space, and it's about time. I love this car, and this car's got a lot of sentimental value for me, but, you know, you only have so much time and energy to spend on cars, and if I'm going to be working on something, I'd rather be working on one of my new projects.
Yeah, agreed. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you on the next episode of Worthless Whips. And a special thanks to all the patrons out there that support us on patreon.com/worthlesswhips. You guys make this happen. You vote on our cars, and it's just so much fun.
Absolutely, and until next time, you know, keep it between the ditches, and can't wait to see you.